Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. Welcome to the daily quiz discussion for the 2nd of November 2022. Before we begin, an important announcement. BYJU'S Exam Prep is glad to announce the launch of the All India Mock Test for Prelims 2023. Note, this mock test will be available in both English as well as Hindi, and it will be available both in offline as well as online formats. A unique feature of this mock test is that a detailed report card with an all India ranking would be given to all those participating in this mock test. To take part in this mock test, you need to register now. You can find the registration link in the description box below. Please note, the first mock test will go live from 6th of November 9:30 a.m. onwards. If you are in Delhi, I would request you to please attend the mock test offline, as after the test, the teachers present at the venue shall discuss the question paper and take up any student doubts. Please do not miss out on this opportunity. Do register now. Beginning with the first question of the day. It reads, consider the following statements about the Mangarh massacre of 1913. There are two question statements given here. The first one reads, nearly 1,500 built tribals and forest dwellers were killed when the British Indian Army opened fire on the protesters who were demanding abolition of bonded labor system and relaxation from high agricultural taxes. The second statement reads, Govind Guru was a prominent leader of the protest. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Please have a look at the options given. Now, what is the context? This article from today's The Hindu takes note of the Prime Minister calling for a roadmap to develop Mangarh Dham as a global tribal destination. This happened during the Prime Minister's address at a public meeting at Mangarh Dham, which was held to mark the anniversary of the Mangarh massacre, as well as to commemorate tribal leader and social reformer Govind Guru. During the freedom struggle, Bills and members of other tribes engaged in a long standoff with the British, with over 1.5 lakh tribals rallying to the Mangarh Hill in November 1930. This happened under the leadership of Govind Guru. During this rally, the British Indian Army opened fire on the protesters, killing nearly 1,500 Bill tribals and other forest dwellers. The tribals were protesting, demanding the abolition of the bonded labor system and relaxation of the high agricultural taxes imposed by the rulers of princely state. With this understanding, let's get back to the question. From our discussion, it becomes clear that both the statements are correct. Since the question asks for the correct statements, the answer to this question would be option C, both the statements. Moving on to the second question. The question reads, consider the following statements about Senna spectabilis tree. There are three question statements given here. The first one reads, it is an exotic species found in India and is native to Central and South America. The second statement reads, it is most known for ornamental purposes and is also used as shade trees and is cultivated for fuel wood in some regions. The third statement reads, it has become an invasive species in many parts of South India. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Please have a look at the options given. Now, what is the context? This article from the Hindu takes note of the Senna spectabilis tree species becoming an invasive species in Mudumalai Tiger Reserve. Senna spectabilis is an exotic tree, meaning it is not a native species to India. It is native to South and Central America. It was introduced in India as an ornamental species known for its colorful flowers and also for use as firewood or fuel wood. Notably, however, over the years, it has become highly invasive, and as a result, it is having a negative effect on local biodiversity by crowding out native species and limiting food availability for the wildlife. Apart from Senna spectabilis trees, other notable invasive species in the region include Lantana camara, a major weed that poses a threat to the biodiversity. Apart from Lantana camara, we have wattle, eucalyptus and pine. While eucalyptus and pine are manageable, Lantana camara and Senna spectabilis are posing major challenges to environmental conservation in the region. the local forest administration is coming up with a plan to deal with this problem. And as part of this plan, discussions are underway on Tamil Nadu Newsprint Papers Limited using wood from Senna spectabilis for paper making. Moving back to the question. From our discussion, it becomes clear that all the three statements are correct. Hence, the answer to this question would be option D. Moving on to the third question. It reads, India has signed the Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement with which of the following country? The four options are as follows. A. Japan, B. US, C. Australia, and D. Israel. Now, what is the context? This article from the PIB takes note of the Indian Minister of Commerce and Industry, Shri Piyush Goyal, and Australian Minister of Trade and Tourism, Don Farrell, discussing the INDOS ECTA, that is India-Australia Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement. India and Australia had signed this Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement in April 2022. However, it still needs to be ratified and implemented. With this understanding, let's get back to the question. From our discussion, it is clear that the answer is option C, Australia. Next, moving on to the fourth question. It reads, which of the following countries do not border the Black Sea? The four options given are A. Bulgaria, B. Romania, C. Greece, and D. Georgia. Now, what is the context? This article from today's The Indian Express discusses Russia's pullout from the Black Sea deal. Under the Black Sea deal, Ukraine had been shipping grain from its Black Sea ports based on security guarantees from Russia. This comes after Russia accused Ukraine of carrying out a drone attack against its Black Sea fleet. This has major repercussions for the food security of many countries. Notably, Ukraine and Russia are key global suppliers of wheat, barley, sunflower oil, and other food to Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Asia. Coming back to the question, observe the map here. The countries which border Black Sea include Ukraine, Russia, Turkey, Georgia, Bulgaria, Romania. Greece does not border the Black Sea. Hence, the answer to this question is option C, Greece. Greece borders the Aegean Sea. Note, the Aegean Sea is connected to the Black Sea through the Sea of Marmara. Moving on to the last question of the day. This is a question from the UPSC 2019 Prelims paper. The question reads, consider the following statements. Statement 1. Agricultural soils release nitrogen oxides into environment. Statement 2. Cattle release ammonia into environment. And statement 3. Poultry industry releases reactive nitrogen compounds into environment. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Please have a look at the options given. Now, this question, which appeared in the 2019 prelims paper, was based on the first ever quantitative assessment of nitrogen pollution in India. It was based on the Indian nitrogen assessment. This assessment took note of nitrogen particles making up the largest fraction of particulate matter, which are closely linked to cardiovascular and respiratory illnesses. This assessment took note of the following data. It noted that agricultural soils contributed to over 70% of N2O emissions, that is nitrogen oxide emissions from India. This was followed by wastewater and residential and commercial activities. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Consider the second statement. The cattle account for almost 80% of the ammonia production. Hence, the second statement is also correct. Consider the third statement. The poultry industry releases reactive nitrogen compounds into environment. This is true. This was measured at around 0.415 tons in the year 2016. Since the question asks for the correct statements, the answer to this question would be option D, 1, 2 and 3. Moving on to the fact of the day, coronal holes. What is the context? This article from the Indian Express takes note of the recent Twitter post by NASA with the following image. This image had dark patches on the moon's surface. These patches are nothing but coronal holes. In this context, let us understand what these are. A coronal hole is a temporary region of relatively cool, less dense plasma in the solar corona. In such a region, the sun's magnetic field extends into interplanetary space as an open field. This is in contrast to the usual closed magnetic field that arches between regions of opposite magnetic polarity. This open magnetic field of the coronal hole allows solar wind to escape into space at a much quicker rate. This further decreases the temperature and density of the plasma at the site of a coronal hole. These solar winds escaping from the sun's surface have high velocities, and this is of particular significance for humans. Now let us understand why. These fast-moving solar winds interact with Earth's magnetic field, creating what is called a geomagnetic storm. These geomagnetic storms can expose the satellites to radiation and also interfere with communications. Hence, the understanding of coronal holes holds immense significance for mankind. Now, how does this occur? In case of a strong solar wind, the resulting geomagnetic storm witnessed in the Earth's atmosphere can cause changes in the ionosphere. Note, ionosphere is part of the Earth's upper atmosphere. Radio and GPS signals which travel through this layer can be disrupted as a result. Hence, it can interfere with communication signals. This is all we have for today's discussion. Thank you for being with us.